Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast, coming in your ear holes.
October 1st, we smash it 10 yards tonight. The buck we call Pickles. A south wind pushing us back to the zag.
Got her stand on our backs.
Set it out and see what happens. You on it?
All right.
Got the air going out of me.
Absolutely drilled him.
And boom, he's that good buck.
Go get my buck, then we're gonna go get homie's buck.
Urban piece as hell.
Got him. Pickles is dead.
Kevin Gates, both kills on hanging hunts.
My first public land buck.
Nice work, dude.
Look at that. Triple brow on the right.
I'm digging that.
Bucked out October 28th. An absolutely incredible season.
Here we go.
Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast, gently coming in your ear holes on this beautiful Wednesday. Was going to come hard this time, but I think I'm going to come soft. I'm going to switch it up on you guys. Coming in soft and slow. We're talking about 3 bucks, same year, 2 different states, all bow kills, all public land, all off scrapes in this episode. We're talking to Austin Stone. Dude's breaking scrapes down scientifically and having some really good success. Check out his YouTube and his TikTok if you're on there. A lot of good content he's putting out. And it's like I say, he's just a personal trainer, a normal dude out there absolutely slaying on scrapes in October and early November there. So let's get into the people that make this possible. We're going to get in the show. I'm going to start off with Right On Optics this week, guys. On their website, rightonoptics.com, you can actually print out a catalog, like catalog that you used to get in the mail, like, you know, the gun catalog, the Sears catalog. They actually have a printable catalog that has every product that they have, the price, what you know, the specs of it. And it's kind of hard to go through a website these days because people try to spice up their websites a lot, you know what I mean? And I get they're trying to make it look nice and cool and add photos. But sometimes you just what the shit is. You know, you just want to be like, all right, I'm looking for this scope. What's the specs? And you can print that catalog and get everything that you need. And everything that they are backed by, they sell is backed by that lifetime warranty. You can break it. Your kid can break it. Your dog can break it. Your wife can break it. You can drop it off a mountain. It's covered. Lifetime warranty. Literally no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you're not getting a replaced scope or replaced binos. You're getting brand new binos. So my binos, kids broke them. So I'm definitely going to be getting some new Right On binos and just buy once, cry once.
Absolutely.
Old people used to say that. And I was like, it's bullshit. Buy the cheap stuff. Make it work. Buy once, cry once. Just buy it and get it over with. So what you got over there, brother?
All right, guys, jumping right into Exodus. Congratulations to them guys as a company. They have made it 7 years. So congrats to them. And on top of them making it 7 years, they're going to do another deal for you guys. So pay attention here. Got another awesome deal from our friends over at Exodus. So if you're somebody that's been following them guys for the last 7 years, you've been hung up on trying one of their reliable, dependable, borderline bulletproof trail cameras, this is for you. Starting right now until June 13th, you're going to be able to use the code YEAR7, that's just year with the number 7, one word, no space, to save 20% off the entire Exodus website. This is going to include the borderline bulletproof Exodus render, any render bundle, and the SP18 solar panel, also dropping out some new merch. In case you guys aren't familiar with the Exodus line, their Verizon 4G LTE camera comes with some of the fastest transmission times in the industry that we've talked about here before, actually. And their user interface is absolutely easy to maneuver through. Also, if you're interested with the Exodus Advantage, I got 3 things for you guys here. 5-year no BS warranty, 5-year theft and damage coverage, and the best-in-class customer service. 3 key bullet points there. So now's the time to get into an Exodus render and do yourself a favor and start running the most dependable cell camera out there. So over the last 7 years, obviously Exodus has shown that they've built quality products that flat out work, and they're now excited to announce a new limited product offering for archery hunters. But you're going to have to sign up for that Exodus newsletter that we've talked about a few times leading up to this to learn about them details. So get over to ExodusOutdoorGear.com and give the Exodus guys some support, and make sure to lock in those savings for 20% off Exodus Render, a Render SP18 bundle, or just a solar panel itself between now and June 13th with the code YEAR7.
It sounded like Joe Rogan over there.
Did it,
Ripping
man?
that.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
there we go. Getting
crushed
somewhere here.
Select blinds. Just joking.
We need a bidet company to sponsor this show. Is what we need.
Gotta read an ad for anything, bro.
Moving right into next level deer supplements, guys. Velvet season is going to be coming up. Also, I forgot to mention there, Velvet Fest for the Exodus crew is going to be launching in July, so that's coming up around the corner. And next level deer supplements is right in the game here. I was thinking about this today, actually, about we got pregnant does getting ready to drop fawns, and having
fawns
those
on the ground already.
Yeah, I know. Having them does a step ahead, and having that nutrition being the most bioavailable ingredients that they can use is really getting them fawns off on a great start, and just healthier herd. So if you guys are looking to get into that, you can visit their website at nextleveldeer.com. And as always, they're looking for dealers. You can run this right out of your own garage and really, really spread the love there. So that's all I got.
That's one thing I was me and my boy were talking about fawns dropping, and he was like, how do they stay away from the coyotes and stuff like that? And I was explaining to him, the process that nature gave them to be able to hide. And I was thinking, man, if we could feed, if you could get those fawns just bigger, quicker, more nutrients, better milk, how much more fawn live rates you would have, if it's bigger, quicker, faster, a week earlier than it would be without mineral and without supplements, like that might save a 170 before you even knew what you had.
Yeah, right.
It's just crazy, the option, everything that can do that you're not even thinking about, all the little added benefits that when you really break it down, you're like, shit, he could even do this if we could feed here. Because I was telling him, it's really important. And he was like, why don't we ever see him? And I was explaining, they don't come out very much because they're so small and fragile. Like, if a mom has to search for food a lot and is leaving that fawn by itself, when it's got the best nutrients 50 yards at a feeder away, it's not leaving that fawn, but the chance of survival rate's that much better. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Something that me and my boy were talking about just the other day. I was thinking about next level. So, you got anything else?
No, I don't.
All right, man. Let's get into the show. I hope you guys enjoy this. I really enjoyed this episode and get me fired up for that October time period that a lot of people are looking forward to. So, all right, we got Austin Stone coming in your guys' ear holes. How's it going tonight, brother?
Good. About yourself?
Doing great. Appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate you reaching out to us. We love hearing stories like you, and you're the type of guy that we want to talk to. The normal guy that's just absolutely out there smashing. And you were able to kill 3 bucks in 1 year, all on public, all self-filmed bow kills over scrapes. So props to you on an absolute badass season. And I'm excited for the listeners to hear this story. I actually watched the story on your YouTube channel there. But go ahead and give the listeners a brief introduction of who you are, and then we'll get right into this.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to chat with you guys and share the story. So my name's Austin Stone. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I actually work as a personal trainer down here, working in the fitness industry, and currently chasing a dream in the hunting industry is what I'm working on now. So this past year, was just amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better season, that's for sure. But everything kind of built on itself with, season's worth of data and the postseason scouting kind of all came together. So kind of give you want me going on into my stories here?
Yeah, go ahead and go right into your story. Like I said, you got $3 all on public. Just go ahead and break them down one by one, and then, like I said, at the end, we'll kind of break down the stories more individually and ask questions.
Sounds good. So the first buck I shot here in Missouri, leading into him, I shot him and my Iowa buck middle of October. I want to say my 9-point was that October 15th time, right around that time frame. I was moving into the season, just keeping track of past sign that I found during my postseason scouting, a little bit of previous years as well. This property in particular, I hadn't hunted a lot of. I hunted a little bit the late season, the previous season before I shot him. But I was having trouble finding scrapes here at the beginning of October. Things were kind of a little bit slow, and so I just kind of kept moving and trying to find the fresh sign. And I just so happened to come across some super fresh sign on this river bottom property. It was all canoe access, and these big scrapes. This were about a 200-yard distance from each other. There was really no other scrapes I was finding on property. I was having trouble finding a lot of scrapes on other properties as well, because I move around a lot from property to property, so I don't overhunt one or another. But I found this fresh sign. I knew it had to be a decent deer of some, at least a mature deer. So I had a cold front coming later that week. So I went ahead and just held out to that cold front hit and moved in on those fresh scrapes. This is a tree I'd never hunted before, so I had to get in real early, paddled in, got set up, early in the morning and just waited it out. Pretty windy all day, so the deer movement was pretty sporadic, and you could tell they were really on edge. But I was hoping that drop would come at the end of the day, and it did. The wind finally died off for me at the end of the day, and he actually came in with 2 or 3 other bucks and competing for this scrape. It was crazy. I hadn't seen actually sparring by a good deer really quite that early in the season before. He came in chasing these little deer around, and man, he gave me that perfect 10-yard shot right on this scrape. So it was a lot of fun to watch. And then the other bucks really weren't sure what happened, so they just kind of stuck around, and they continued scraping. They continued kind of sparring with each other a little bit for the next 5 to 10 minutes. And I knew that deer was down, so I just kind of waited for them to move off, and I can go down and get him. So that was it happened so fast. You couldn't really see him coming in. It just, next thing you know, there you were. So it was just after that, I knew I had an idea. I wanted to go up and try to find that sign again in Iowa. I knew the scrapes were just becoming fresh with those big mature bucks, so I figured I had a shot right before the hunting pressure really picked up on those public lands. And so I got that 9-point out and got him taken care of, and immediately ran up to Iowa. And I had an idea about how these deer were using this property from spring scouting that year. So I wanted to get in there. I just wanted to find what was fresh, and I did. I ended up spooking a really decent deer, probably 100 yards from where I ended up setting up and hunting for the week. And there was the only part of the property that had scrapes. Everything else was pretty dry. There weren't any scraping going on other areas. We were finding scrapes during our spring scouting. So right when I found these scrapes, and these are big, massive scrapes and freshly used, so I knew I needed just to go ahead and set up on them and wait it out. So it stayed a little warm for most of the week. I did have an encounter with a really dandy buck on day 2. He just never came in and gave me a shot. And then my guy came in at first light on day 5, came in working those scrapes. He worked all the way down that tree line, down that ridge at the edge of that CRP field, and came right into that scrape I was set up on, and gave me a perfect broadside shot. So again, 10-yard shot. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. So I was here in Missouri. We can't use our second buck tag until opening weekend of rifle. So I stayed out of my spots. Didn't want to put any unneeded pressure on them since I wasn't really hunting it. So once it got to, we went to do our deer camp, and then I went back to this property I was keeping tabs on. This is the property I'm talking about for my 170. Been keeping tabs on it through early October, just wasn't finding any fresh sign. And I went back there to check it out. And lo and behold, some of the biggest rubs I've seen on that property really in a couple of years I've been scouting it. And some of the bigger rubs I've seen in Missouri, period. I mean, they're crazy, super fresh scrapes, exactly where they should be. Tree stand was already set up perfectly where it needed to be. And they were hitting those scrapes like I was expecting them to start using it. So finally got some fresh sign. I had a cold front coming, so I ended up putting the gun down and picked up my bow, since this is an archery only spot. Picked up my bow and hit that cold front. Actually I shot him at last light. It was pushing it. He didn't have much time left before I wasn't able to get a shot on him, but he came by very last light, worked out perfect. And he was chasing some does. And the cool part, man, I actually had an encounter with an even bigger deer about an hour and a half before that. And I mean, it was just a giant. They had big old non-typical. And then this guy came in. So non-typical was going up this trail, and at about an hour later, this dude that I ended up shooting came down down the same trail. So obviously there's a pretty good artery there, and those does were using it all day. So again, high wind day, and right when the wind broke, I got a shot. So he was a 20-yard shot last light.
And you set yourself up for some success getting in there tight to those scrapes. We actually had people last year say we were too tight on the scrape, and we ended up killing that same night. We were kind of hung. We were hung within 10 yards of it, and ended up killing that exact same night. So, there's no right way to do it. The right way to do it is how you kill them. But one thing I want to mention was that not on the video, that non-typical, you got a shot of him walking away there, and man, he had flyers and a split. He had a lot of stuff going on. It would have been really cool to get a good close shot of him. Man, he was big, real big. So
he had some junk going on, man. That was an impressive deer.
Yeah. So, I mean, you also had a couple other small bucks going through there. So, that you can look forward to that spot this year. There is one giant that is in that area using it. But yeah, he was definitely huge. And it seems like you're going, you're in season scouting a lot. So kind of what's your routine for checking these scrapes? Are you bebopping properties weekly during season, every 3 days, or how are you going about that?
So I would say weekly. I base it really around weather and my hunting schedule. Here in Missouri, I like to keep tabs on, about 4 or 5 properties, honestly. And then going into property, I'll have a top 3 kind of picked out that I know are based on my spring scouting. Spring scouting is really where I put the plan together, and then I find what's fresh in season. So the last thing I want to do is be stumbling around during season, actually trying to find these honey holes and find where I need to hunt, where I've already got these locations pegged. The only thing I'm doing now is I'm hitting my scent control as perfect as I possibly can. I wear scent lock, and ever since I've been using it correctly, I trust that stuff and have seen a significant difference in my sightings overall. So I'll hit my scent control, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go straight to those specific spots, see if they're fresh, and get out. Basically, is what I'm doing. And if they're fresh, I either figure out, okay, is the tree that I originally thought would be a good setup still good, or do I need to find a secondary tree? You know how they shift. They could shift 10 to 20 yards, and you not get a shot in that original tree. So do I need to shift trees at all? Is then what would I figure out right then at that time? But my goal is to actually spend as little time as possible on site during season, and then come in during a cold front and hunt it.
That's a good strategy. Are you on those spots? Are you just looking? There's scrapes here in the past. You see the old sign, or are you making a mock scrape, or what are you doing there?
It's all old sign. It's all sign that I found during my spring scouting. So I'll find the more primary scrapes on the property. I'll find the bit bigger ones, the areas that have more than just one scrape kind of going for them, you know what I mean? And when I find those scrapes, and I'll figure out, all right, where's the feed tree or the pinch point or the converging in all the trails? Where exactly is what tree basically are most of the deer walking by in that specific spot? And if I'm 10 yards from a scrape or I'm 30 yards from a scrape, it really kind of depends on that as well. And also you got to take into consideration concealment, because self filming, I can't just be 15 feet in a tree it's just hanging out there. So got to find a good tree to set up on, but I do everything I can to put myself in a position for a kill. So if I gotta monkey my way up the tree, I'll do it.
Yeah, I like how you said, if you gotta be where the deer are gonna be or what tree they're walking by. You don't necessarily have to be on that scrape just to say that you killed them on that scrape. Like if you killed them 50 yards going to that scrape, like I'd say you killed them going to that scrape,
100%.
Cody's buck
Yeah.
is jay hooking around us. Like didn't really kill him on the scrape, but he was coming in to check it,
And
Go ahead.
Sometimes those big mature bucks, during the day, they may just wind check those scrapes. They may not even check them in person. If he wants to hang up in that thicker stuff, 30, 40 yards away, I want to be over there in that thicker stuff 30, 40 yards away where he's hanging up.
That's a great point.
You know what I mean?
How close are these scrapes to doe bedding? Like the scrapes that we have our most success off of are really close to doe bedding, and we get a lot of does throughout even the course of midday coming in there and hitting them scrapes, whether it be while we're hunting or even on cam there. And those seem to be the really surefire scrapes that we get a lot of activity on and most of our hunting success.
It's the exact same way for me. The best scrapes I found are right on doe bedding. I mean, usually I see deer activity all day, all through the middle of the day, and I'm closer to some thicker cover. I'm usually always on oaks. I only ever find these best scrapes right around those main oak trees. This scrape in particular that I shot this 170 off of is a big white oak, where the ridges had predominantly some bur oaks and red oaks, where this is one of the main white oaks actually in that area. And it just so happened that most of the deer movement kind of converged in on this particular tree.
So you got these scrapes here close to doe bedding. I would say our really good ones are, 40 to 60 yards, really tight in there. How far off the edge are you though? Ours are usually about 60 yards in off the edge, seems to be like the sweet spot where they just kind of in there hanging around and feel comfortable about that far in off the edge. So how far are your scrapes that you were hunting here?
Like, are you talking about into doe bedding?
No, like off the edge of the field, like into the timber.
Oh, I'm smack dab in timber, basically.
You're deep.
I'm deep. I'll take that back. Actually, my Iowa buck was the one buck that was right off the CRP field. Honestly, that scrape was probably 10 yards off the CRP, and that's the closest like I'll ever hunt to a field. And I can't imagine. In Missouri, I haven't had a whole lot of luck hunting that close to a true open field like that, where they're in Iowa. Of course, this field was 5-6 feet tall grass, so they had plenty of cover.
Yeah.
Moving through that field. They were passing through that field all day, and the does were hitting this corner, the point on this ridge here, and that was the closest to a field I'd actually hunt. The 9 point in Missouri, that was more along a right of way where I had a ditch right behind me, like right next to the tree. I was less than 5 yards from the water, and then actual super thick bedding cover, maybe 15 yards across the right of way. So that there wasn't a whole lot of open space for them to be in the open. They were pretty well covered. And then
One
the
thing I like
170 was in the ridge.
One thing I like that you're doing is, just so a lot of the listeners, some of them, I actually talked to one this week and he just got into hunting. And he's like, man, I'm learning so much. But in my mind, I'm thinking it's people that are really engaged. You really know what they're doing. But I like that you're not just finding a hot scrape and hunting it. You're finding these areas that are good, then you're finding the scrape. Because I feel like a lot of people are going out there, man, the scrape's tore up. Maybe it's a field edge scrape. Maybe it's 10 yards off the field edge scrape. They don't have a lot of history with the area. There's not really any other things tying them to this area other than, man, there's a giant scrape here. It looks like it's getting hit like crazy. And it's all nighttime activity on that scrape. When I first started hunting, I made the mistake 100 times of hunting that area, thinking that a buck was going to come, when more than likely that buck was, not even close to there. That's what he hit at midnight or 1 a.m. or, but you have to find these areas in your spring scouting that will hold these deer during the daylight, then find the scrapes. That's the key. Like, find a doe bedding area that is thick enough that you think, okay, there would be a buck that would use this during daylight hours. Okay, now here's a scrape. Or find a bedding area that, okay, this is close to buck bedding area. Okay, here's a scrape that I think he would actually hit during daylight. So that's where I think you're having your success on scrapes, where a lot of people don't have the success on scrapes, and they're hunting a field edge scrape. They don't see much, and they kind of chalk it off as a tactic that doesn't work for them.
Yeah, and there's so many different scrapes in the woods. I mean, you're gonna find them all over the place, especially come November. The woods are littered with scrapes, but those big bucks aren't going to hit most of those scrapes during daylight. So why would that buck hit that scrape during daylight? What would be his reason for actually coming by that scrape during daylight? So that's why I like to, just like you said, find the areas, locate these areas where the deer are actually holding up during daylight, and then figure out where to hunt them after that, where I can precisely get in and feel good about being in bow range of a decent deer.
Homie, this makes me think about that South public land scrape line we found in 2020 that we didn't hunt. Man, what a mistake that was.
Yeah, probably. My next question kind of ties into that, and this is the spot I was thinking about. Also on the one that we normally hunt, but you had mentioned, I don't know if it was the first buck that came in, but the one that was working the really big scrapes, like the big ass car hood scrapes that you find, is Do you see a lot of deer working that? Like, I feel like our success on them giant ass scrapes just isn't there like you think it would be. Like, you see, you know, them just tearing it up, but we don't have the success or, you know, even really much camera intel on them giant scrapes. And I was just wondering with you seeing that, if that's something that you've seen in the past or any history to kind of make you lean that way.
Yeah, I mean, I always lean towards the bigger scrapes, and more so the bigger scrapes. I lean more towards a congregation of scrapes. You know what I mean. And also, I also kind of fill it out by property because each property is just a little bit different. Where I've the property where I shot my 9-point, they didn't make big scrapes; they made little scrapes. And then that property up in Iowa, they made massive scrapes. So the one thing that held true to both of those deer, though, is that there was a congregation of fresh scrapes at a fresh food source close to bedding. Is really what held true to each one of those. And the biggest thing too is that I wasn't finding scrapes on the rest of the property yet. So that those are kind of the first scrapes that opened up. So is that middle of October where the fresh sign just was starting to open up, I would feel comfortable hunting a spot like that. It's back in the cover. You got a fresh food source, you know, with masked trees and all that they'd possibly be hitting during daytime. And I'd be comfortable hitting that with a cold front and seeing what happens. I mean, that's a good bet. I'd be put some good money on taking that bet. And, you know, if I don't see a shooter that day, then I keep working. So
one thing I also like that you said, that I feel like podcasts are giving away so much that knowledge to people that are just beginning, or the stuff that you've heard from like the celebrities talk about. But talking about that October 15th to 20th range where it's supposed to be the October lull, bucks aren't supposed to be moving. There's way less pressure on public land. We see it. There's like nobody out there in October, like literally no one. And then the rut hits and everybody's out there.
Everybody in the woods.
But that time frame right there on scrapes has been some of our best success. I mean, even on trail cams, we get a lot of early scrape activity, early October, mid-October. The week before I actually shot my buck, that scrape was literally on fire.
Yeah, you throw a cold front in there in that time frame. Holy shit!
Yeah, and you know, you look at what has been talked about before podcasts, before normal guys could talk, where people could listen in the past. Don't even hunt this time of year. You know, take a break, get ready for the rut. The bucks aren't moving. Don't burn out your good spots. Like, they were telling people to do this because, you know, they could hunt these deer during the rut and know that no one else had a shot at them. For guys like us, this is your shot to get a shot at this deer where it's pretty much you out there all alone. Like, this is your shot to rip on him before everybody gets out there. But the people that were spreading this knowledge in the past were on a giant farm and was saying, hey, don't burn this deer out, hunt him in the rut when he's more likely to daylight. Well, for us, that's really not the best option. The best option is cold front in October, or you got a hot scrape in October. That's when you need to strike. Don't wait. Don't wait until the rut.
No, and you know, and like, if you're hunting those big farms where you can control the hunting pressure and you can control the access, that's not wrong. You know, and maybe even for them, if they held out a little longer, they could end up, you know, adding 10 to 15 inches onto a different deer that showed up during the rut, hitting those same scrapes. Where for us, if we wait those next 2 weeks, if we wait 1 week, you get some guy in there that completely blew out your spot, and your spot may not be right for a couple weeks, or it may not be right for the rest of the season. I mean, he could have depending on how bad the intrusion was, you could lose your spot for the whole year.
Yeah, we've seen it where it's been burned out, and we've also seen it where I personally think we burnt it out just by going in there. So it's a fine line you got to walk, but don't just listen to that content of don't hunt in October. There's nothing moving. I know guys that still do that to this day. They're like, well, what are you hunting in October? I'm bucked out and people are starting to hunt. Like, it's possible, like that. People are just starting to get in the swing of things, and I'm bucked out. Like, it's possible to kill them out there.
Well, I was going to say, like, I did this year. I put 2 bucks down before most people were even hitting the woods yet. Mm-hmm. So in that 7-day period, and I mean, I always put in quotations the lull. The lull just means they're not hitting your soybean fields during daylight like they were all summer. Yeah, they're back in the ridges and they're back in the thick stuff. So I mean, but they're just as patternable, and honestly, probably a little bit more since you got some scrapes to work off, and they're starting to fire up the testosterone and get a little get ready for the rut.
The lull was, kind of made out of bucks leaving an area. Where did the buck go? Well, he actually went to his fall range finally, and you think he's just not daylighting anywhere. And then, like you said, pressure. People start hunting a little bit, and they pressure the deer. And the deer know. They know. Like right now, you could go out anywhere at noon, and there's a deer out in the field eating. You're like, what in the hell? Like, you're the easiest thing to kill right now ever. But 100%. Even a doe, like you go out to Oak Run, they're just everywhere. Like noon, 1, no matter what time of the day, they're just out there feeding because they know they can. But during season, absolutely not. Like sunset is when they're out there feeding. It's just they know 100%. just like the testosterone comes and they're probably like, oh shit, I gotta chill because I'm hardhorn now and I'm endangered. Like they know. That's another reason I think so many people kill velvet bucks is like they still think that they're some genetic way they got velvet, so they're safe. Like they don't understand that people are coming after them as hard,
Right.
But I think there's just a lot of shit changing in that time frame of October. The crops are coming out, the acorns are falling. Like a lot of shit's changing really fast, even day to day, let alone week to week on the normal shit that we get to hunt. And what happens is you just get behind in the game. You've had all season prepping and you're going in, and then shit starts changing rapidly there at that time frame, and you get behind on your plan. So I think that also leads into it on top of what you guys were saying there.
And that's where if you did a good enough job in your postseason scouting, you're there waiting for them to show up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you're hunting your spring, early season patterns, and if you've done your postseason scouting properly and you got cameras set up and your tree stand's already there, you're just waiting for them to show up. Yeah, and then you just got to put. And then once he shows up, you just wait for a cold front and you go get him.
That's exactly what we did with Magnum. Like, we just know the third to last week of October, he's going to be showing up, and we got him 4 days early the last year. We had to wait for that shift to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So something about them knowing where a doe group is they want to go see or something. But another thing that I like that you keep mentioning is you mentioned your spring scouting, but you're saying I'm scouting in the spring and during season, but I'm relying on the postseason data. And that's the same thing we do. Homie, I took the boys fishing out at Snaketon last night, and absolute giant out there, dude. Like Magnum, where I know no giant deer because we've ran cams there. I know there's no deer there, but a guy would have seen that and been like, oh shit, I'm getting in there. I'm getting in there. I'm like, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Right.
I already had big giant split brows and giant beams. I'm like, that's Marina was like, man, that's a big deer. I'm like, yeah, he's just barely growing.
Wow.
Wow. I was trying to think of what deer it would be, and I'm like, I have no idea. But in the just south of Pickles, like I'm like, okay, there's nothing there. Like during season, that's an open wasteland. A guy was saying, I'm coming back here in November, and he's driving around there right now and sees a buck.
That's a canyon.
Now he goes back in there with no intel. That might work. Don't count it out 100%, but don't weigh a lot of odds on what you see right now, or even in the spring.
Yeah.
You know, you want to see what's happening right after. You know, that's why I love shed hunting much. I love finding sheds, but I also love walking property without the feeling of I'm literally messing up nothing right now. I can just stomp all over this thing and I'm not going to mess up anything. That's the best feeling when you're out there just like when deer season comes, you're pretty much a ghost that have been there. So that's why I think that, you know, postseason scouting, January, February, before shit greens up. Like, you go out there now and scout, it's going to be terrible.
Trash.
Well, yeah. And like, you know, I'm not, this time of year, you know, I'm not trying to locate deer or anything. I mean, maybe Kentucky, you know, once it gets a little more into summer here, I might start throwing some trail cameras out and see if I had an early hunt like that, maybe try to locate an early season buck. But I know more than likely that buck's not going to be where I'm hunting on that particular property come fall. So, you know, I'm looking more for what they left me during the fall. And then I figure out what deer is there when the time comes, you know?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with driving around and trying to find a velvet
Oh,
buck,
yeah.
but we've been roped into that. You know, West Side, how hard did we get roped in on West Side?
Hard.
Out there in velvet, September 15th in July, looking like an absolute beacon, like daily in the same field. You're like, oh, this dude is dead. Season comes.
He's gone.
Been hunted for 5 years. Still alive.
That's two past our 3-year average.
In the face, like, still here, dude. Still alive.
God,
still alive.
we got roped in hard on that deer, probably almost more than any other deer for a quick minute.
Yeah.
But just like we kind of used to be, like you get emotionally attached to the deer, and next thing you know, you're out there fucking up because you're emotionally attached and you're not thinking right. And that deer's long gone, but you had a picture of him 2 weeks ago on a cold front with a southwest wind, and here it is. It's prime conditions. I'm going in. You got to stop that shit.
You've been running a cam on it straight for 3 weeks, and he hasn't been there. You're like, oh, he's still here. He just ain't hitting the straight. You're like, no, he's not there. He's gone.
Right?
It's just the stuff that you have to learn through absolute just kicking your own ass. That's the only way we learn how to do anything.
Yeah, you can't like learn it while you're in season going through it. You always got to wait till the end of season and reflect back and look back and be like, how many hunts did I waste? So I wasted an ass load on a ghost.
On a ghost.
Stupid.
Yep. I've done that before.
Circling back to one of your stories here with scrapes, you said that opening weekend of Missouri Rifle, which is like the second full week of November, usually, I believe.
Yep.
So we're talking like the 7th or so, the 9th, so somewhere in that time frame.
Little around there.
Into November, you know, a decent bit here. You said Buck was still working a scrape there. Usually for us, not very many big bucks are working scrapes that time. They're found a doe by now and kind of slowing down there. Have you seen very many bucks working scrapes in that time frame, or when do you start shifting off to scrapes in the hunting year?
So I the middle of November to end of November, I'm gonna start looking for scrapes again, because once that buck breeds the doe and he moves off and he's searching again, that's when he'll start making those scrapes again. And I think that's where I found this deer is he moved off of whatever doe he was on there at the beginning of November and whatnot, and I'm thinking he was just hitting those scrapes again in search of the more does. And that's what I'm wondering if you look at the video of that non-typical, I tried grunting him in, but it wasn't until I looked back at the footage that he was walking away with his ears pinned and his hair standing up on his back. And he was hit in the way the wind was blowing. he was upwind of me, so he was heading in the direction where my buck ended up coming from, and my buck was on a doe, pretty hard on a doe. So you wonder if he was actually heading that direction because he got scent of a hot doe there and that big mature buck that I ended up shooting. So you think that non-typical may have not been on a doe, but he was searching for it again for another one.
Yeah, I like what you said there. You know, that later November timeframe, bucks are getting back on them scrapes, and it's not going to be like late October, like where there's scrapes, like you said earlier, littered everywhere. I mean, they're just going to be a few here, there, hit and miss, pop up, and it'll kind of almost catch you by surprise if you're out there walking around. If you're scouting, hunting, or kind of like we do if you're going in on a hanging hunt or something, you're scouting your way in. It'll kind of throw you off guard because it's been, 3 weeks or so since maybe it got worked. They've been off chasing and whatnot. So I do like that, and we've been preaching for 5 years on this show that Thanksgiving weekend is when the big boys start getting really, really silly. And everybody's, if you got enough gumption out there, you still got to keep running the cams, and you still got to be out there doing your best if you're still in the game. And that weekend can for sure change your year.
And that's where you got to be very careful about what scrapes you look for, because they're only going to be hitting a few of the primary scrapes again. They're not going to scrape as widespread like you were saying, end of October where they're really widespread scraping, that they may only hit a few of those primary scrapes, but they're in key locations. Mm-hmm. And also, they've been around with some hunting pressure and all. So you got to be careful about where you're getting to and really find those spots that the deer are still holding up that maybe some hunting pressure hadn't pushed them out of yet, and find that fresh sign.
Yeah, I feel like we've been talking about scrapes a bunch, but I think it's just such an incredible tool to utilize. I feel like the people that have figured it out are really, really successful on them. And then I feel like some other people just haven't had the success, so they don't know how to do it, but they're hunting the wrong scrapes. I think there's two different types of scrapes in my mind, right? There's the scrape that you want to hunt in October. That's the scrape that's close to some good food source, close to buck bedding, or real tight to doe bedding. One or the other. That's And then the rut scrapes, that's the community scrapes, that's the travel scrapes. That's the, oh shit, this is firing up in this area, go in there and hunt. But like that's the later October. And then like you said, during the middle of November, don't hunt the scrapes, man. We haven't had success. Not saying, don't do it at all, but we just haven't seen the success. Get on the doe bedding at that time of year. If you don't have a buck, an idea where a buck's at, get on the doe bedding. Or if you love hunting field edges, that's the time of the year to hunt the field edge, because you might get pulled out of there with a doe. We don't hunt field edges. I couldn't tell you the last time that we've hunted field edge, unless it's gun season, which is only a CRP field and not even a cornfield or a bean field. I don't remember the last time that we've actually hung on the edge of a field and hunted. I could think 6 years ago when I was trying to kill the sunflower buck, that was the edge of a field kind of shit. But other than that, it's been. But like you said, every property is a little different. You said that earlier. Maybe you got bucks that are in the fields. You're listening to us and you're like, shit, I see them out in the fields all the time. What we say is not the be all terms. It's just kind of what we see in our area. And it sounds like your area is kind of the same as ours.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, every property, every hunt and every property, I try to keep as open mind as I can, and really just let the deer tell me where I need to be, basically, because if they're in a spot that I haven't thought about or I've completely looked over, and then I come up on something, well, maybe I need to pay a little more attention to this, and maybe this is where he's at. So, I mean, hunting public land, especially here in Missouri, like I have, most field edges for me is a waste of time. So especially getting into end of October and into November, that those deer getting pushed around so much that those deer aren't walking out, and those big bucks aren't walking out there during daylight. At least in the spots that in most properties that I've hunted. But if I go to state or find a property that maybe isn't getting hunted as hard, maybe those deer are going to hold up a little closer to the field edge. I mean, I'll take it.
Every time I think about field edges, I think about that damn Mr. Maybe out in that cloud chisel cornfield chasing those does that video. Every time I'm like, don't hunt the field edge, and then Mr. Baby's out there just crashing does. I'm like, what is going on with this thing in the daylight on a chisel plowed cornfield? What is going on?
Right.
But yeah, like I said, every property is different, man, and you just gotta swing with whatever you got going on. But man, I really appreciate you coming on. This has been an awesome informational podcast. Hopefully the listeners are thinking about some scrape areas that, they want to either go check now or check, in season and see when they're firing up. But that weekly check of you going in there and popping in, be like, okay, this ain't ready yet. I believe that's way better than wasting a hunt in that area. People think, oh man, I just want to stay out of there. But popping in there, and especially on public, they're probably used to people kind of popping in there and coming out. You got to think about, you're not the only guy out there. So.
Yeah. And I mean, it might not be every week that I actually check a property, because I don't want to put that much pressure on my locations. So it really kind of depends on what the cold fronts are doing. If I feel like this spot, if I get a decent cold front, beginning, middle of October, maybe I go check it out and actually use it as a hunt, as a chance to actually get a hunt in and see what the deer activity looked like. Use it as kind of a scouting / hunting trip there for a few hours and just see what happens. And, or I just haven't checked this particular spot in, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on where I've been hunting, and I haven't been seeing a lot of sign. I'm just going to go pop in real quick and seeing what's fresh. So, and, if I'm running trail cameras, that helps me as well.
Yeah. Homie, you got anything else before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was just sitting here thinking when you said 2 weeks, like you haven't been there, like I was just thinking like, holy shit, like in the course of a season, like that's a long ass time. That's half a month, that's a sixth of the year, that's definitely need to be popping in there. And then I just thinking about like the public piece that we never hunted, Cody, like shit in there for 2 weeks, like, totally sleeping on that. And then also like we had a guy with I don't even know if he had a climber on his back, but he's out there in blue jeans, literally walked the whole property, and then all our bucks are still there and daylight within 2 days after the guy literally walks the whole thing. Yeah. And Cody even talked to the guy, and then he's on 6 of our cams out there. So, just
guy's an OG from Alabama. He's listening to this. Dude he hit so many of our cams. Dude, height, bro.
Yeah, he was out there putting the miles.
I seen him out there. I was doing my drive-by, basically scouting parking lots and stuff, and I'm like, that's that dude. And I'm like, I'm gonna go talk to him. He's like, yeah, up here 2 weeks from Alabama. I'm like, bro, you've been out here ripping it. And he's like, yeah, I got you on trail camera all over. He's like, yeah, I see a lot of trail cameras out here.
He's like, yeah, it's back over here.
90% of them are mine.
It's up over there.
Yeah.
It's back in this corner over here. We're like, yeah, we got you. We got you all over there, bro.
Yeah. I feel so bad when he's walking in there. I'm like, dude, don't stop here. This
yeah.
Shit. Keep going. We've had a mobile cam in there, 2 mobile cams in there for a month. There is nothing in there. Keep going, bro.
Yeah.
There's going to be a time when the cams, like, you can talk to people, be like, hey, man,
keep
don't
moving.
hunt this my shit. And then you got to believe the guy or not. Like, I don't know, man.
Talking ultimate mindfuck right there. Like, do I stay or go?
Yeah. You're like, hey, yeah, guy with the climber on your back. Yeah, don't hunt here. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to set up right here.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Guy sitting on a 180 out there.
Just let me know what time he's been coming in, man. Let me know. Every time I get a notification, like, all right, don't pull my SD card. This is what intel you need to know, and it's 100% bullshit. Just lie to them.
Right? Right?
Yes, it says don't be a douche.
Yeah. There's some trail cam company out there like, damn, that's not a bad idea.
Not
Man,
bad.
just walkie-talkie. Got a bunch of Boost mobile phones out there.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Is that still a thing, the Boost mobile phone?
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
when that come out. It was cool as shit, bro. I was like, man, just walkie-talkie your buddy. You ain't even got to call him. Just hit him with the walkie-talkie mode. Oh, shit. But all right, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on and chit-chat with us. I really enjoyed this episode. Got me really thinking about some shit I need to line out in some areas, and also gave me some more confidence of what we're doing, the way we've been hunting the last couple of years. We've had a lot of success, and it's cool to see other people be successful the same way that just a normal guy like us. So your videos and follow your page.
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram, YouTube, look up Tactical Approach Outdoors. I've got Instagram, Facebook. I'm on TikTok as well. But I'm really pushing YouTube pretty hard here and up in my video frequency. And like I said, everything this year was self-filmed. Most of everything I do is self-filmed, and public land as well. And most of it is all archery. So yeah, if you want to go back and check out those videos, you're more than welcome to. There are some pretty cool hunts. They turned out great.
Yeah, I think I first seen you on TikTok, I think.
Mm.
And then maybe Instagram,
Right.
and then YouTube. It's funny how my content has shifted away from Facebook and more to TikTok. I'm like, there's a lot of hunting content on TikTok now, man. When we first got on there was like
nothing.
Yeah.
And now there's a shitload, which it's cool to see more of it on there.
Yeah, and it's fun. You can actually reach and interact with new people, where Facebook we weren't getting that opportunity to find new people just like you guys, to chat with and interact with and build those connections, in the industry and all. So I've enjoyed what TikTok's opened up along those lines.
Nice. Well, appreciate you coming on again and chit chatting with us.
Absolutely, bud. Appreciate you.
All right, guys, where we hope you enjoyed that episode. Start thinking about those scrapes. Start thinking about how you're going to hunt those scrapes. Check those scrapes. Make a plan. This is a tactic that we believe in this 100%. We know too many people that have killed on these scrapes. And like we were saying, you might have a property that you can kill on a field edge scrape. I think about Garrett and Grant. They killed a bunch of bucks field edge scrapes.
Mm-hmm.
Their property, they can do that. Our property, it just isn't in the chips for us, and sounds like Austin's kind of the same way. He's hunting those deep timber scrapes just like we are. So think about all these scrapes. If you can, run an Exodus trail camera on them. Figure out when these bucks are using these scrapes. If you don't have that option, just like Austin said, get in there and check when these things are hot and make a move on them when they turn. That time of year, you got to turn fast because, like we were saying, when November hits, they're going to shut down on those scrapes, and you're going to be hunting and thinking, "No, what's going on? This thing was hot as hell." But short, like a 9-day window, 10-day window when they open up, when they close up shop. And if you're there, you had the best hunt of the year. If you're not, you missed the shot. So really looking forward to that time of the year. Get a lot of photo content on trail cams that time of year, and we also have some really good hunts that time of year. So like always, we love you guys. Appreciate you tuning in. People are starting to think about whitetail a little bit more. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we appreciate you listening all the way through. We hope we can make this season the best that you've ever had, and hope to keep bringing you content like this that you guys can absorb and maybe change your outlook on the season. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Love you guys. You got anything, homie?
No, man, you're hitting it all on the head here.
All right. Well, like we always say, try to do the right thing. Try to leave a legacy, and Whitetail Legacy is out.